Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Have You Heard? My name's Richard and it's Friday today, and Friday means it's yes! Yay! So, today for our weekly dose of yes, we're going to be looking at the second album, um, Time and a Word. Now, those of you in the United States of America, don't look too closely at this album cover. It's apparently naughty. Uh, Deemed in 1970 so naughty that the US version had to have a photo of the band on the front instead of that lady with the very big legs and nudity elsewhere. Um, the ironic thing, is it ironic? But certainly the funny thing about that decision that the US label made was that they included a photo with Steve Howe on the cover, and of course Steve did not play on Time and a Word. The album had been completed and finished, and Peter Banks was then fired, and they didn't want to put him or get hold of him and bring him back for the photo shoot, I guess, or they were perhaps just being lazy. So Steve appears. Steve doesn't play a note. This is the album where it all kicked off. Kind of like the beginning of the end of the first version of Yes, I guess. Um, Peter Banks, the guitarist, who had played with Chris Squire for quite a long time in previous bands, The Sin, I think, and um, Mabel Greer's Toy Shop, I think was the name of the band. Anyway, he did not like the idea of recording their second album, and their crucial second album, with an orchestra. So that was the first thing he didn't like. The second thing was that he didn't like John Anderson's choice of the producer, Tony Colton. Um, and you can kind of understand, with all due respect to Tony Colton, you can kind of understand where Peter was coming from, because Tony's background was folk rock with one poet and a man, I think his group was called. And he had no experience of producing a rock band apart from something with Rory Gallagher's taste, and that's a different animal altogether, a wonderfully different animal. But Rory Gallagher and Yes felt like poles apart at that particular time. So he didn't like that. He didn't like the orchestra, he didn't like Tony Colton, he didn't like the idea of incorporating orchestral pieces within the arrangements of the songs. He felt that Yes were copying Deep Purple, Concerto for Group and Orchestra, maybe a little bit of jumping on the bandwagon from Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues, and maybe even The Nice and the things that Keith Emerson was doing with orchestra, around about Five Bridges Suite and that kind of stuff. So he was not a happy fellow. And apparently during the recording, he didn't get on with Tony Colton, and particularly when Tony Colton asked him to play a little bit more like Jimmy Page, please. That was not the kind of thing that Peter Banks wanted to hear. He wasn't that kind of player. So anyway, all kinds of upsets, all kinds of upheavals, and of course, once the record was finished, legend has it that John and Chris fired Peter, without Bill or Tony Kaye knowing. Whether that's true or not, we will never know, but we hear different sides of the story. So the first breakup came. But let's talk a bit about the music. It's a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, I got into the band through the Yes album. So once I heard that and loved it, I bought the first two albums, as I explained on our first video when we did Every Little Thing. And yeah, this was quite a shock to the system when I heard the opening bars to the first track, No Opportunity Needed, etc., etc., their version of the Richie Havens song. And yeah, it was an interesting 40 odd minutes after that for me. Um, we're going to do Astral Traveller today. Again, not many reactions on YouTube to Astral Traveller, not many reactions to songs from this album, to be fair. And it isn't, I think, the most popular of their pre 1980 odd albums that they recorded. But there's tasty tidbits in there. There definitely are. And Astral Traveller really, really does show the kind of ambition that particularly John and Chris had. This is what they wanted to do, and these were the early footsteps. So let's have a listen to Astral Traveller, and we can talk about it again afterwards. And once again, I talk so much that Spotify gets bored and switches off. So here we go. Astral Traveller. Chris's bass. I think by far the most successful song on this album. Um, and it truly does show you where they wanted to go. And they're on their way, really, aren't they? And there's no orchestra on the song. Um, I, I can get Peter's point of view, I really can, and he must have been feeling so frustrated. And yeah, it's a shame. Band politics and everything that goes with that um, can often get in the way of the potential to make even better music, can't it? Well, I can imagine. I've never been in that situation, um, but it's a it's a really interesting and vibrant track. Um, Again, it's early. It's July 1970, but only 6, 7 months later, um, the Yes album was out. But there's a sea change of difference, isn't there? And it you have to say it. The guitar from this album, the guitar from the Yes album, is like chalk and cheese in terms of texture and in terms of choices, I guess, of how to play. Um, and Steve Howe gelled with John and Chris. There's no doubt about it. This particular album, it demonstrates, well, this particular song demonstrates Bruford and Squire, what a rhythm section, but totally unlike anything else. I mean, already Chris has got that signature style, that signature sound going, the booming sound and the runs across the top. Um, Really, really, really interesting, particularly for that time. Um, and I really always wish that I could have bought this album when it came out without having been influenced by the album that followed. Um, what would I have thought? I'm pretty certain I would have liked it. Um, but I would have been a little bit humming and hawing between some of the songs with the excessive orchestrations and songs like this one, which is much more stripped back but not basic at all. Far from it. The arrangement's really quite intricate. Tony K, keyboards. Where do we stand on that? Lots of people love Tony. I love Tony. And of course, he always hung around the scene, didn't he? And he came back in the 80s for 90125 and Big Generator, and the 90s with Talk. Although how he was utilized always was a little bit of a talking point. How much of the keyboards on those later albums did Tony play, or how many did Trevor Rabin play? That's always a contentious point. But back here in 1970, very, very basic insofar as sticking to the chords, making a foundation. Some intricate parts in that middle section, which is really, really fun. Um, but again, nowhere near the florid um, technique of Rick Wakeman that was to follow. Uh, it's just 1970 progressive rock. That's what it is. And all the better for it, I think. So, there we go. Oh, yes, John's voice. Sorry, I almost forgot. John's voice. Heavily, heavily treated, particularly in the early part of the song. What do you think of that? Um, it kind of feels like you're messing with perfection. Why would you treat John Anderson's voice? It is so beautiful. It's not quite so badly played around with later on in the song, but early on particularly, maybe that was just the sound they were looking for at that time. He still sings in a slightly lower register, and throughout the whole album does so, much like I said about the first album when we did Every Little Thing. Um, and maybe it's confidence. Maybe he was confident enough to really push himself from album 3 onwards. Um, That's a kind of question I would ask John Anderson. I don't think I've ever seen an interviewer or heard an interviewer ask John those questions. Um, Rick Beato, where are you? Please interview John Anderson. Get the proper questions out. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll have 350,000 subscribers and I can uh, give John a call and say, "Do you want to have a chat for half an hour?" Wow, that would be heaven. At the moment, I have 89 subscribers and I love you all. Thank you very much. Let's hope a couple more come along board when we post this video. The Yes videos have been the most viewed videos so far of the 27 that we've done. And I can understand that because the Yes following is loyal and keen to share with as many people as will want to listen to it. And I think that's absolutely wonderful and brilliant. So anyway, there we go. That's Astral Traveller from the second album. Um, we have now done on the channel, we've done Sound Chaser from Relayer, we've done Revealing Science of God from Topographic Oceans, and then we started with Every Little Thing from Yes, and now we're doing Astral Traveller from Time and a Word. So there's now beginning to be a little bit of a trend. Should we go in sequence from now on? Any thoughts or comments would be most valuable and welcome. Should we move onto the Yes album next and then move on in time? Let's have a look and see. Please like. If you've enjoyed yourself here, please subscribe. We've now got 27 videos to look up and enjoy. The first few, I'm not the most charismatic of people in front of the camera. I'm not saying I am now, but I just feel a bit more comfortable than I did then. So there's 27 videos to look up and watch if you were in that particular mood. Share, subscribe, comment, please. I would love it. So thank you. Today has been Yes Friday, and we've been Astral Travellers. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, everybody.